This is a slot machine. When you win, it plays this sound. But here's where it gets weird. You can put in $10 and win back $1. You lost money, but the machine plays the exact same winning sound. The sound convinces you that you won even when you lost. It feels like progress, so you keep playing until you run out of money. There's even a name for this, a loss disguised as a win. It works because hearing is passive and immediate. The machine celebrates before you have time to figure out what really happened. By the time your rational mind catches up, you've already been rewarded. And this idea didn't stay in casinos. It's everywhere, like when you tap your digital wallet. Even though you just spent money, it's tuned to sound like success. You're being told how to feel about what happened. Even the boring tune playing in the grocery store was intentionally chosen to make you walk slower and get you to buy more. None of these sounds are accidents. Every single one was designed to make you feel something. Sometimes the most interesting product sounds don't seem designed at all, but they're still incredibly impactful, like a soda can. Check out this clip from Ben Levin.
A rising tension leads to a discrete impact, and then a big, bright, sustained sound slowly decrescendos. It changes textures, and then we return to silence.
Ben is a brilliant musician and composer, so I've asked him to help us break down some of these sounds today. A soda can sounds that way because it's pressurized. That's just physics. But a huge portion of the sounds we encounter every day are meticulously designed based on those same satisfying sound principles. Way more of them than you'd think. By now, you've probably seen some version of these ASMR videos. We treat these like memes, but really there is a multi-billion-dollar industry of designers and engineers working behind the scenes on this stuff. I know this because I'm a product designer myself. I've spent weeks refining the perfect button click on a product I was designing. We would obsess over snap ratios, button travel distance, and soft polymer feels because we knew how important that satisfying auditory feedback was. And as a musician who's designed and built bass guitars from scratch, I look at these micro moments and know that they're not accidental. They're composed, tested, and tuned to get an emotional reaction. And it goes deeper. Sound has power over all your senses. There's a 3-layer system to how your brain processes sound. To show you that, I'll use a jump scare like that shows layer 1, the reflexive layer. It comes from evolution, so we survive in the wild. Your brain reacts to threats or stimuli before your conscious mind registers a problem. But these first layer subconscious effects don't apply to all sounds equally. Mostly just startle reflexes, which brings us to layer 2. That time, you saw the sheep and expected the sheep sound again. That's called conditioning. Preparing for a second sheep sound is not a survival reflex. That's a habit you've created through risk-reward calculation. And here's another example. Here we go. Let me pull this out. It's my new notification sound. Emails, software updates, all unimportant. But if I keep checking, I'm bound to get a reward at some point. With the phone, your brain can never predict which chime delivers the dopamine, so it stays hooked on the mystery. The next notification sound could be a meaningless app update or a text from a crush. In psychology and business, that unpredictability keeps you hooked. We'll talk a lot more about that later. The notification sound is the trigger that conditions the behavior. I hear the sound, I check my phone. And after a while, you don't even need the trigger sound. You'll just start checking your phone automatically. But don't give in to the brain rot. Keep learning with me. Layer 3 is emotion. Beautiful music makes people cry. A chord can give you chills. A color palette alone doesn't really do that. So much emotion and information is expressed through sound. Let me show you.
No, I don't think he likes you at all. No, I don't like you either.
You don't really need to speak droid to understand what R2-D2 is saying here.
No, I don't think he likes you at all. No, I don't like you either.
R2-D2 is communicating only with beeps, but he's more expressive than C-3PO, who's communicating with full words. Sometimes it's even more obvious. Obviously, R2 is saying subscribe to my channel. It's free and it helps me out. But anyway, so much of what we need to know is expressed through pitch and intonation. Let me show you another example. I'll say the same sentence with different intonation. I didn't say he copied my design. 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 And I didn't say he copied my design. Notice how stressing just one word in the same sentence changes the meaning. Whether it's speech, verbal cues, or sounds from everyday objects you use, your brain is constantly processing audio scripts, and it never stops. You can look away from an ugly design, but you can't hear away from a sound. At least not without using your hands or special equipment. And because you can't easily shut your ears, sound seeps in and affects your other senses. Imagine you're in a plane. You're sitting in your seat and a flight attendant drops a tray of food in front of you. Before you even unwrap it, you know it won't taste great. I mean, sure, you can blame it on the lack of catering space or the cheap plastic wrap, but another major culprit is the acoustics. In a plane, you constantly hear the engine droning and a low-frequency hum from being airborne. Those sounds are proven to make your tongue sensitive to bitter and umami tastes, while blunting sweetness. This is an example of taste modulation. Companies know that every second you interact with a product is part of a perspective-shaping experience. So, being savvy business people, Finnair ran an experiment using sound. They recorded and played calming nature soundtracks while passengers ate on a flight. Apparently, it made the food taste a little better, but it definitely didn't look any better. It's not easy to make airplane food look better, but you can make your website look and function better with Framer, today's sponsor. It's a no-code website building tool that's genuinely impressive. I use Framer myself to build out my design portfolio, and honestly, it's game-changing. You don't need to know any code, so it feels just like using the design tools you're already familiar with. But instead of static mock-ups or vibe coding experiments, you're creating real, live, production-ready websites. Here's how easy it is. I wanted this coral lighting design to feel like it was underwater, so I used Framer's new shader feature to create this floating plankton effect. I can control the movement, scale, and speed of the animation directly in Framer. Custom domains and lightning-fast hosting are built in, so publishing is just a few clicks. Framer now has AI agents directly in the canvas where they can help build fully custom components and maintain your live site. I made this effect with the shifting patterns of light you see underwater, and it's all editable right in Framer. Framer also has built-in SEO tools and analytics so you can understand how and where visitors engage with your work. If you're a creative person or marketer who wants to quickly launch a professional website with total creative control, Framer is the tool for you. This one's worth the hype. Start building on Framer today and use code DESIGNTHEORY for 30% off a Framer Pro annual plan. Link in the description. Back to the video. Bad audio can destroy your entire reality. This clip is terrible video quality, but my sound is good. Check. Check one. Check one. Sibilance. Sisyphus. Syphilis. Now look what happens when I flip it and film with good video and crappy audio. The one with bad video may not look nice, but you could at least sit through it. You probably couldn't do that with the one that had bad audio. Emotion and reality are as much about what you see as they are about what you hear. Design sounds help us interact with the world around us. This is a Geiger counter. It measures radiation. The faster the clicks, the more radioactive the object is. In 1928, Hans Geiger and his student Walter Muller developed a device that could translate invisible radiation into sound. They filled a sealed tube with low-pressure gas and applied high voltage. When radiation hits the gas, it creates a sharp electrical pulse. Fed through a small speaker, that electrical spike makes a click. When that speeds up exponentially as danger increases. To this day, it's one of the most successful examples of converting information to sound. It shows you how sound gives us feedback. Imagine pressing the start button on a microwave. The light goes on, but you hear nothing else. How do you know it's actually working without that humming? And what if you were visually impaired and relied on those cues for feedback to navigate and survive in your world? Our ears judge progress. Consider a drill bit spinning through wood. The wood resistance forces the motor to slow down, so the noise drops to a low-frequency hum. The exact second it punches through the wood, the resistance drops, the motor accelerates, and the pitch snaps right back up to a fast whir. Some products can tell us when we're done. Now yes, that is physics, and many objects start out as purely physical feedback. But over time, they later get reappropriated by designers. I talked to my friend Rafi about this video, and he worked at Boeing for years as a product designer, so our conversation naturally turned to planes. Turns out, if passengers don't hear engine sounds on descent or takeoff, they start to panic. I can't say I blame them, they are flying in a Boeing airplane after all. So say you're 30,000 feet in the air. You can see the clouds outside your window, but you're in total silence. When Boeing made passenger cabins quieter, people found them eerie and off-putting. In this case, noise is evidence of safety. It's a tiny subconscious nod that thousands of invisible systems work inside the plane. That faint background hum reduces the amount of cortisol, a stress hormone, entering your system. Silence isn't necessarily dangerous, but when a familiar environment suddenly goes quiet, it seems like the universe senses a danger before you have. While a lack of sound can manipulate stress levels, sound can also trigger other biological systems. This is a mechanical typewriter. Today's keyboard makers spend millions manufacturing that same loud tapping right back into devices that don't need them anymore. Keyboard designers know that touch is only half of the experience. With an object like this, your brain gets two sensory inputs at once. The click sound validates the touch. In psychology, this is called haptic auditory coupling, where touch and sound become a single unified experience. Press down and your fingers feel the physical resistance, while at the same time, your ears register a crisp tap. We see this multisensory feedback in gaming too. Mid-game, you can't afford to look down at your hands to see if a move registered. You need that instant feedback. There are so many other examples too. Sound can get you in the zone, but it can also destroy an otherwise great idea. In 2010, Sun Chips introduced what should have been the future of packaging, a chip bag advertised as 100% compostable. Frito-Lay had reportedly spent 4 years developing it and claimed it could break down in about 14 weeks inside an active compost pile. A normal chips bag would take centuries to do the same thing. There was just one problem. The bag was unbelievably loud. In one informal test, the compostable bag reached 95 decibels, or about as loud as a motorcycle engine. The internet absolutely destroyed it. Facebook groups appeared with names like, "Sorry, but I can't hear you over this Sun Chips bag." The packaging became more famous for its sound than for being compostable. By the end of 2011, the original compostable bag had been discontinued in the United States and Canada. Here was a company trying to eliminate plastic waste, and people rejected it because opening their chips was annoying. Maybe we would be more tolerant of it today since we're much more environmentally conscious now, but honestly, it was pretty bad. The sound fundamentally changed the experience of using the product. Imagine trying to quietly eat Sun Chips in a quiet office or classroom. Sound becomes part of how the product functions, and in this case, it was for the worst. Some products communicate quality by accident. Others do it on purpose to fake it. Here's Dyson. In 2016, they dropped $60 million to build a vacuum that was 75% quieter than its last one. 65 engineers and 640 prototypes later, they removed a single frequency considered annoying. So, wouldn't making a silent vacuum be a better idea? Once again, apparently not. A University of Manchester study found that when a vacuum was completely silent, users assumed it was broken. Just like sitting in a plane with silent engines, it just feels wrong. In fact, 83% of those surveyed said they didn't want a quiet product. They wanted a good sounding one. To our brains, sound quality is product quality. Imagine you're at a dealership test driving a new car you want to buy. You open the door, duck inside, and pull it shut behind you. Doesn't exactly scream solid, does it? And that's your first impression of a $50,000 investment. Now look, I know what you're thinking. John, modern cars are made of lighter materials to be more fuel efficient, and you're right. But that doesn't mean we want a car that sounds like its doors will fly open at 50 miles an hour like a Boeing airplane. According to the book Designing with Sound, weights are now added to car doors to make them feel more solid when they're opened and produce a sturdy crumph sound when closed. Designers can affect how a product or experience sounds by changing materials, speaker hardware, and the digital audio file that's played when a car door opens and closes shut. This is considered a very high quality sounding door versus this sad piece of sheet metal. All that deadening mass, foam padding, and dampening don't do much for the actual function of the car, but companies know that it still matters. So they'll even go as far as to manufacture completely fake sounds into cars. They'll even design the sound of turn signals. Designer Andrew Dye talked about how he went to a clock warehouse and recorded 30 different tick-tock sounds, all to create a timeless blinker sound for Bentley. Compare that to this standard relay switch turn signal. It sounds cheap, but that deep wooden tick-tock, that's the sound of luxury, apparently. But it's not just automakers who know we'll open our wallets for the right sounds, which unfortunately brings us back to the casinos. You just bet $1 and win 10 cents back. But it's hard to see you just lost when this thing's celebrating for you. Everyone talks about how the flashing neon lights and free drinks in casinos are manipulative, but the real scam is happening in your ears. It goes back to the concept I mentioned at the start: losses disguised as wins, or LDWs. Just like with car doors, slot machine sounds are about perception. In this case, it's the perception of winning while you're actually losing. Brain scans of gambling addicts show that when a person experiences a loss disguised as a win, the exact same reward regions of the brain light up as if they won. Your brain can't easily tell the difference in front of a celebrating slot. A study by the University of Waterloo showed that when sound is completely turned off on a machine, players easily and correctly categorize a loss as a loss. The second those same players spin on a machine with the audio turned on, they go right back to thinking those losses count as wins. It works so well that we get locked into a flow state and keep playing. There's a famous experiment by psychologist B.F. Skinner. He put hungry pigeons into a cage with a button they could press for food. When the button gave food on a regular, predictable schedule, the pigeons didn't press the button as often. But when Skinner made the rewards unpredictable and random, the pigeons went nuts. They clicked the lever compulsively and were consumed by the risk-reward loop. Slot machines turn us into gambling pigeons. The loop becomes so intense, so all-consuming, that players enter a zombie-like state. Natasha Dow-Scholl interviewed gambling addicts for her book Addiction by Design. One addict said every spin leaves her wiser but also weaker and less able to stop. Here's what she said: "When I win, and I do win from time to time, I just put it back into the machines. The thing people never understand is that I'm not playing to win. I play to keep playing, to stay in that machine zone where nothing else matters." Earlier, I mentioned how sounds help players focus during video games. Say you're playing and hear this. Aside from a hit of nostalgia, your brain gets flooded with dopamine, the reward and focus molecule. A study on League of Legends gamers proved that when playing with audio turned on, players enjoyed the experience more. They reported being more locked in on the game, allowing them to reach that flow state I mentioned. Focusing on a task can be good at times, but not if it's being used to hypnotize you into gambling away your retirement.
I lost $4 million in the casino.
Or making it seem like you can't leave the gambling floor to take a piss. The moment a song in the background or a sound cue gets too interesting, you become aware of your surroundings, and you realize you're losing money. That's why the music in casinos is specifically designed to be ambient and not too distracting. Same thing with the sounds of the slot machines themselves. One gambler told Scholl, "I can go longer if the machine sounds are right. Last weekend, the sounds were turned off on a machine I was playing. I switched because I couldn't handle playing a silent machine. It didn't have the same flow to it." Now you might be thinking, wouldn't you get bored of slots eventually? I mean, after all, people have short attention spans these days. The answer is no, because sound designers fixed that problem decades ago. On top of being an unpredictable reward loop, slot audio engineers intentionally map out over 400 unique sound events. These are subtle micro changes in pitch, chimes, and near-miss sweeps. So your brain never hears the exact same sequence twice. It never gets bored and is free to lose track of time, your earnings, and losses. Meanwhile, another game manufacturer admits to using the universally pleasant key of C, which is debatable by the way, and samples real casino floor noise so the soundtrack would blend without clashing with each player's sound experience. They even angled speakers to create a kind of sound cone directly in front of players to limit fatigue and keep them playing. They get lost in their own little gambling world. Analog sounds play a role too. In the old days of coins, manufacturers intentionally chose stainless steel trays so coins would fall and rattle on them. Today, we hardly use coins, yet game engineers still make the sound of coins hitting the tray because we're so conditioned to associate falling coins with a win. They even fatten up the coin sound in digital versions too. Obviously, sound is only one part of a casino's sensory experience, but sound design plays a role with more than just slots. A study on grocery shoppers showed slow-tempo music increased sales by 38% because shoppers stayed longer and walked the aisles slower. In a casino, that means you stay on the floor spending cash longer. Audio designers in casinos admit audio and music can shape how fast patrons walk, the paths they take through the casino, and how much money they spend. The hypnotic music, the sound of a celebrating slot machine, other people winning in the background, it's all mixed and made to manipulate. Casinos spend billions tuning the music and the machines to keep you in the zone. But in some spaces, a jumbled mess of noise can actually kill you. This is an ICU. Here, sound design is in crisis. Maybe you've heard of alarm fatigue, how too many alarms can cause people to ignore them over time. Unlike the casino floor, hospitals aren't evil design, at least not on purpose. According to Designing with Sound, 70 to 90% of all ICU alarms are clinically unimportant. They get triggered by something as simple as a patient shifting in bed or a slightly too sensitive monitor. Because of this, the hospital staff are flooded with arbitrary beeps through grueling shifts. There are up to 350 alarms every single day between just 2 ICU beds. The staff's brains naturally do exactly what a human brain is supposed to do when faced with the wall of noise: tune the alarms out. Nurses in particular become so unbothered by the sound that studies show it can take up to 40 minutes for staff to respond to a ringing monitor because it's hard to tell between something minor or a dying patient. Sound is important, and in this case, bad sound design can cost lives. You probably experience a milder version of alarm fatigue yourself. Think about how many times a day you hear that horrible Slack knock or the Teams call song and just want to shut it off and quit your job forever. Some sounds should alert us to danger or emergency, but not all sounds need to be made in a way to get us to react, especially when those unnecessary alerts end up drowning out the sounds that actually matter. I talked about this briefly in my Deadliest Design Mistakes video, where nuclear power plants had to completely triage their alarm system so operators only heard a single critical alert when they needed to act. In critical environments like control rooms and ICUs, we need sound design that respects how we process sound rather than audio built to distract or keep us stuck. But unfortunately, these are the products that have mastered sound design. Most of the time, when we think of emotional sounds, we think about music. We know a minor chord can make us feel sad, whereas an upbeat song in a major key gives us energy. But sound is music's stealthier cousin. It subtly confirms our reality. When a drill bit changes pitch, it's saying you've made it through wood. When a Geiger counter clicks, it's warning you of danger. Those are honest signals. They help you navigate the world. There's nothing wrong with designing sound, but it becomes a problem when it's not telling you the truth about what's happening. We made car doors sound heavier than they are just to sell quality. We made slots play winning sounds when you lose, just to keep you betting. We made phone chimes sound urgent just to get you to look at a screen. But those things aren't true. As designers, it's easy to obsess over the visuals because they're right in front of us, but sound is the stealth variable at play. With every cheap product made to sound expensive, and every loss disguised as a win, sound stops helping you understand reality and replaces it with a narrative. So the next time you hear a sound, ask what it's trying to make you believe. If you like these videos and you want to help build a place where design and culture is discussed with depth and honesty, then consider supporting me on Patreon. You can sign up for a few dollars a month, and as a show of thanks, you get early access to my videos, plus a behind-the-scenes commentary video. I want to give a huge shout out to my patrons on Patreon. I sincerely appreciate your support. I couldn't do this without you. I hope you learned something and have a great day.